So I know it's taken me a while to get this Cforce 1000 review out to you guys. I actually filmed this several months ago. But shortly after completing my filming, there was a stop sale ride placed on all new 3rd gen CFmoto 800s and 1000s. So I didn't want to get this review out there until I found out what was going on with them and how they were correcting it. They have, and so now I can continue with this review. So to start, what the stop sale ride was for, it was a sticking throttle. It is a physical stickiness in the actual thumb throttle itself. And CFmoto, kudos to them because they did their part. They placed a stop sale ride and they came out with an updated throttle and 4x4 assembly. Here you can see them side by side, the old compared to the new. And I really like this new one over the old one. It's smaller, it's more compact. The button engagement for the 4-wheel drive is a lot nicer. I like it better. It's a simple spin to 4-wheel drive and then press the center to lock the front diff, and I super like that. Also, you'll notice there looks to be several what could possibly be future placement of buttons on top, so who knows, maybe they're going to move like the drive mode buttons to that side, much like Can-Am. Maybe they're going to start offering multi-mode engine braking like Can-Am. If you haven't noticed, CFmoto tends to copy a lot of stuff that Can-Am comes out with, so we'll just have to see. But anyway, that's the update. Everything's good to go now. Cforce 800 and 1000s are back on sale. And let's get started now with my full in-depth look and review of the 2024 CFmoto Cforce 1000 Touring. This video is brought to you by Mountain Extreme of Rockton, PA. Whether you're in the market for a Can-Am, CFmoto ATV or side-by-side, Can-Am or KO youth ATVs or dirt bikes, Spider and Riker on-road motorcycles, as well as CFmoto on-road motorcycles, bad boy mowers, or even your full line of Arctic Cat and Ski-Doo sleds when that white stuff flies. A full line of riding gear and apparel as well to suit your needs. And let's not forget parts and accessories for your machine. When you're ready for the peak of performance in the power sports game, then look no farther than Mountain Extreme of Rockton, PA. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and start right off by being completely upfront with you guys. I came into this review expecting this Cforce 1000 to be a good machine because the time I spent on the Cforce 600 showed me how much of a good machine it was, especially at the price point. However, after spending some time on the Cforce 1000, I came to realize that that's not true. The Cforce 1000 isn't a good machine. It is an absolutely fantastic machine. And my mind is absolutely blown. I was not expecting this four-wheeler to be as good as it is. From the moment I threw my leg over the seat, grabbed hold of the handlebars, hit this little mode button here and put it into sport and jab the throttle, this had just continued to blow my mind each and every time I took it out. For being a machine that has an MSRP with a non-camo model of under 10 grand, it checks all the right boxes. Power, suspension, handling, ride comfort, Starting with power, the old CForce 1000 Touring got a record-breaking 2.25 seconds 0 to 30, our fastest time on the drag strip to date. Pretty impressive.
The way this thing wakes up in sport mode, it's just amazing. And if you think that it's a big, heavy utility machine, it can't be sporty, well, you just take a look here at what happened when I line it up against Dan's brand new 2024 Renegade 1000. So there, out of all the races we did, he won one. What was that, like 4 out of 5 races or however many we did? This CForce 1000 beat the Renegade 1000, a much smaller and lighter machine. Now yes, obviously guys, watch the footage. He had a lot of wheel spin, I'm not going to deny that. But that is still impressive. This machine that's almost 1,000 pounds. 90 horsepower, which the Renegade I believe is 91 horsepower. It outran 4 out of 5 times. I think actually the heavy weight of this machine helped keep me from spinning, so I just took off. Alright, let's see if we got enough room here for a high-speed run. Once we get over the hump. She tops out about 65. On a four-wheeler this big, that is plenty. And I think that's a build-in limiter because it felt like there was more there. I was no way had the motor screaming. But once I hit 65, it stopped. So that's probably a built-in limiter on these things. But again, four-wheeler this big, that is plenty. Stock clutching's pretty decent. I have slipped the belt a time or two during my testing. When I raced the Renegade and gunned it from a dead stop, I would get squeal from the belt. So I had to kind of ease into the throttle and take off kind of gingerly just to keep that from happening in high gear. We were in four-wheel drive doing that, obviously. So like a lot of times for stuff like this, I don't have to go into low. But because it's not my machine, it's just a demo, I have been to save the belt so I don't have to replace it. But the clutching's very good on this stock. And I guess that's just another nod to how good the CForce is, in the fact that when I was racing Dan on his Renegade, I couldn't just jam the throttle to the maximum max. I had to ease into it. And I still came out on top the majority of the races. In fact, all but one race. This does have the separate work modes. Let's do our tap test here. Let's put it in. Let's start in work mode. Here's work mode. Let's give her the tap. Let's put her in high for this. You see how much of a delay there is. So there's work. Let's go to normal. A little more. Now, let's go to sport. A lot more. So there, as you would expect by a fly-by-wire system with the different modes, I mean, there is a difference in throttle response. Work mode is great if you're doing technical stuff, if you're doing work. I really haven't had it in normal mode much, but it's an in-between of work and sport. But sport mode is where the real fun can be had, and it's a blast. This thing's pretty much been in sport mode the whole time, and it makes it so responsive. And it makes it feel like a much lighter machine than what it is. very well. This does have compression and rebound adjustable remote reservoir shocks. So it's very easy to dial it in. I haven't messed around with them too much, just simply because I haven't needed to. Suspension numbers are pretty good, but the fact that it's a touring, handling sections here like our flex test, you don't feel the flex as much as you would on a smaller machine because of the stretched out wheelbase. It soaks it up very, very well. Bump from that whatsoever. I just think if you like to jump four-wheelers, have no fear jumping this thing because it takes it. I mean, I was out there. I cleared the whole little. That's probably one of the longer jumps I have done in this spot with the machine. It jumps so well.
All you did is hear the tires touch around, like that was it.
Yeah.
Hitting the country whoops, the CForce 1000 soaked it up as if they weren't even there. In fact, I probably hit these a little faster than I was meaning to, as when I went to turn and went to stop, well, as you can see here, I just kind of slid right on past the turn and almost went into the woods. But again, the suspension handled the country whoops. Where did that come from? So much so that I have since revised and had to find new country whoops because this just simply handled it so well. And in like manner, there was hardly any transfer of energy up into me over the where did that come from test, and I stayed firmly planted in my seat and watch my arms here. They hardly even jerk from the impact. So very, very impressive suspension on the CForce 1000.
Now, one downside is the Cforce is a touring model. It's big, it's long. It feels big here, especially as I go through the narrow pines. But unlike the CForce 600, which one of my biggest complaints on it was how long it took to turn, the CForce 600 has a horrible turning radius. This 1000, as well as the 800s that share this platform, it turns so much nicer than the smaller CForce family.
And of course, to give you guys an actual number of what that turning radius is, we did our turning radius test both in 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, and 4x4 diff lock. The results may surprise you here. So 2-wheel drive, a turning radius of 16.3 feet.
No joke, that's the same track that 2-wheel drive had.
Okay, now that we're in diff lock though, I bet you it gets bigger.
So if you didn't catch what was going on there, in 4-wheel drive we had absolutely zero change in turning radius. Usually 4-wheel drive gives you a little bit of a difference. There is none. The turning radius was the exact same as it was in 2-wheel drive. So we went straight to diff lock.
We're out here to 23 feet with diff lock on, 23.8.
That's insane though, because usually 4-wheel drive makes a difference.
Yeah, it made none.
Yeah, it didn't do anything. What that's impressive though. That means like woods riding and stuff, you're not going to lose anything unless you.
It's in 4-wheel drive, been handling great in the woods, so. So its bigger size doesn't really translate as being bigger when you're out on the trail because it turns and it's so much more maneuverable than its smaller cousins. Handling is pretty good on it. It will understeer and push through the corners a little bit if you're not ready for it. But overall, again, I keep going back to this, as big and heavy of a machine as it is, it handles really well.
Now with that being said, keep in mind this is a touring, it's a little longer, so in driving aggressively and trying to turn sharp, she is a bit top heavy, and we struggled a little bit at keeping all four wheels planted when trying to get our short course times.
I'm gonna point something out. That's the same place Tommy did that and hit that tree.
Oh, getting her on two wheels into the tree.
Yeah. It must be a CFmoto thing.
Despite the tippiness, I was, after a few runs, able to get a good, clean trip around the short course. The CForce 1000 came out with a very respectable 31.73 second run. And despite the CForce being a little tippy, driving aggressively around the short course, for my normal trail riding I did, and I put over 60 miles on this machine trail riding, I didn't find it tippy at all. Just them sharp corners at speed is the only time it ever felt tippy. Braking performance for a machine this size is pretty adequate, I would say, and it did quite well on our 30-0 brake test. And for you guys that like to do a lot of night riding, the headlights are okay. Low beam gives you a pretty good pattern, but you can see here high beam really doesn't project that high or that far. And if you notice here, it does give you pretty good blind spots on each side. The light is very directed in front of you. So you probably are going to want to add some additional lighting to the front if you do like to do a lot of night riding. However, one of the best features for this guy is it does have reverse lights. The GoPro doesn't pick it up here, but in the dark, having those backup lights is so nice, and I love it. I wish my Outlander had backup lights because I love them on the RMAX, but it is what it is. Not all machines come with them. Hopefully that becomes an industry standard very soon, because having reverse lights on your machine is very nice.
Now this does have engine braking, but it's a added feature. It's not on all the time. This has technically what's called active descent control. As you can see here now, I don't know if you heard that. Let me see if I can pick it up so you can hear it. You coast long enough, the belt does releases, and you will free ride unless you do a throttle tap to keep the belt engaged. However, this has active descent control, which when you select that and it is on, then it will keep the belt engaged at all times, and you will not freewheel like this.
Up first is high gear active descent control off.
That belt releases, you don't have engine braking at all with active descent off. You freewheel.
Yeah, it just took off.
High gear active descent control on.
Still catches releases.
What mode was that in? Or was there only one mode?
There's just the one mode. It's either on or off, and that was in high. I have a feeling it's going to be a lot more effective than low.
Probably.
Up next we have low gear active descent control off.
Low gear, the belt still releases and you free spin. You have to kind of do like the tap trick. You got to keep that belt engaged.
And finally, low gear active descent control on.
But here's the thing with active descent control. When it's on, you let off the throttle, it'll continue to creep because it keeps the belt engaged. So until you hit the brake, it'll stay engaged. So you can kind of use it as a cruise control, because even if you're on the flats, you can hit the throttle and it'll just peak about 3 miles an hour. So keep that in mind.
So all in all, the active descent control works pretty good. Despite some little tweaks here and there, it'd be nice to have different power modes like Can-Am, and hopefully they straighten that out where when you let off the throttle in low gear, it'll release and not continue to creep. The biggest problem with active descent control is there is no shortcut button. You have to go through all the menus to find active descent control, select it, and then turn it on. So it's not a quick little switching back and forth like on the fly. It is definitely not on the fly. So, I mean, it'd be nice to have a shortcut button, maybe on the new throttle that they've released for that upgrade, to be able to tap and just to turn active descent control on and off. That alone would be a big, big improvement, and I'm sure it'd be appreciated by all the Cforce 1000 owners out there.
I didn't get into a whole lot of mud with this machine.
I was like, no, for it.
But again, four-wheel drive with selectable front diff lock, it'll go pretty much anywhere you point it, provided you got the tires that's able to go through what you're pointing it at. These stock tires do a very good job, and on our tire hill climb test, it performed as you would expect. Seat position is very excellent. I have noticed that the handlebars are pretty straight across. There's not much back sweep to them, and so where you sit when you turn, you do tend to lean forward a good bit on the turns. But other than that, the seat position's comfy. I have no complaints over the seat. Like I did the 600, it doesn't push you forward, it keeps you right where you're at. And I put a good many hours on this. I got 50 miles on it. I've ridden this a lot more than I did the 600, and seat comfort, riding position comfort has not been an issue for any of my rides.
And of course, being a touring model, I threw my wife on the passenger seat. We put a good few miles in there, and she said that it was very comfortable riding. One thing she did note was, like, going downhill, sudden stops, the hand placement is good and comfy, but she found it actually difficult to hold herself back against the seat a lot of time, especially when driving aggressively. If I slammed on the brakes, she would tend to want to slide forward because the handholds are low enough that it's hard to keep your leverage and keep yourself back. But besides that, she said the seat was very comfy and she was very impressed with it.
And just to let you guys know on how good this is and how much I like it, I have been so tempted since I got behind the handlebars of this thing to trade in my Outlander HD7 for one. Yes, it is that good. The only thing that's probably keeping me from doing it is the fact that I don't really need a touring right now. None of my other family members really ride with me on a four-wheeler. And two is the lack of storage. This Cforce 1000 suffers from the same drawback that the 600 did. Onboard storage is almost non-existent. We've got this one little storage compartment here, and that's it. You guys want a little more detail on the features itself, I did that in my walk around video. This video we're just going to focus on like the actual machine itself, as far as riding it, how's the power, how's the suspension, that kind of stuff, how's the tires, stock tires work. So to dig in deep on the features, you guys check out my walk around video. But again, one of the big things that's keeping me from trading in my HD7 for one of these is the storage. I absolutely love the storage on my HD7, and I don't think I'm going to trade it, mostly due to that fact alone. Yes, the Cforce 1000 rides nicer, it's got way more power, but it's just, for practicality, for trail riding, I like storage where I don't have to add a bunch of boxes in order to get that storage for taking a long trail ride. The second thing that I'm not crazy about, it's not bad, but it's worth mentioning, is I do feel that the power steering is still a touch too light. Now, unlike the older models, this has actually 4 different modes of power steering. Of course, just like Can-Am, it has min, medium, and max. But then it also has an auto setting where, depending on your speed, whether you're in four-wheel drive, stuff like that, it'll automatically select which level of power steering it should be in. Which is nice, but again, I actually found it to be in probably maximum most of the time. And for me, the steering is just a little bit too light, takes a little bit too much feedback out of the trail. Manually putting it in minimum was better, but even at that, to me, minimum power steering assistance on the Cforce feels pretty close to medium to maximum on my Outlander. But other than that, I have absolutely zero complaints over this machine. I know a lot of people out there are skeptical to buy a CFmoto just because of their country of origin, but I have continued to be impressed by quality, fit and finish, features, and all that wrapped up in the price point that they offer these machines in. It's got to be making all the other OEMs nervous.
Huh? What, you think I'm afraid of you? I'm not afraid of you!
And I want you to know that I am not threatened.
I'm not scared of you!
I mean, I can't believe this machine can be had with an MSRP of just under 10 grand. For comparison, the price out an equally equipped Outlander 1000 like I did, you're going to be pushing 17 grand. And by the time you get out the door, you're going to be 20 or over. So this is literally half the price. And guys, this is outrunning Renegade 1000s. I would say that it's safe to assume it will outrun Outlander 1000s for sure. Now the new one with the 101 horsepower, yeah, I don't know, but I don't know if you guys have done the math on the newer Gen 3 Outlander 1000. Yeah, it's 101 horsepower, but it's also so much heavier. If you run the numbers, the power to weight ratio is actually better on the old Outlander 1000 than these new 101 horsepower Outlander 1000. So, I mean, they're bragging it up being the first ever big bore ATV to be over 101 horsepower, yet its power to weight ratio is smaller than the old 1000. So it's probably, in all honesty, it's not going to feel a whole lot different. But, you know, as soon as we get some in the dealer, I'm going to try to get one wrestled up here to the farm and see if that 101 horsepower is all there, or if it's just a gimmicky in there to make up for the extra weight the new Gen 3 1000 for.
So, once again, in conclusion, at the end of the day, I am impressed with the Cforce 1000. I still go back and forth almost on a daily basis, since I have these guys at work, on whether or not I want to trade my HD7 on one. I'm probably not going to anytime soon, just for the fact that I want to fully test the HD7. But in the future, when we're done with the HD7, this very well may be the next Appalachian Mountain Rider long-term test unit. Either that, or we're just going to jump straight to the big Outlander 1000, the new 3rd gen with 101 horsepower. But either way, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment below. As far as dependability, again, we cannot speak on that because these newer ones have not been out that long, but they seem to be holding up very well. I've seen lots of video of people absolutely thrashing on these, and them hold up just fine. So I hope you guys enjoyed this very in-depth and thorough video. I'm trying to put out the most thorough review videos on YouTube, so if I'm doing a good job, make sure to let me know in the comments below to satisfy my ego a little bit. No, just kidding. But seriously, guys, if you're enjoying these videos, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video, especially if you have friends that are thinking about getting a Cforce. Share this video with them. Not only does it help my channel grow, but it can be a help to them as well in their decisions. So thanks for watching. And as always, guys, until next time, keep on riding.